I am Geneva Slaybaugh. I am the co-founder and CEO at Vispa.
Fantastic. And today you're coming from Florida, our home state,
That's
correct?
right. Good
Correct,
old city
correct.
of Sarasota.
Sarasota, welcome from NSB. So we're going to just jump in regards to the parallels from our Olympians to our entrepreneurs. And I think this is so timely in regards to just a couple days we get to see the Olympics, but every day we're kind of all running this race. So what prompted you to say, okay, we need to start this company? What was your why?
You know, I have a personal why and a personal mission that I
Perfect.
feel like everything I've ever done in my life comes out of this place. And it is to influence, inspire, and encourage people and organizations to walk in their purpose and full potential. It's something I'm passionate about and something that I so deeply believe. And you ask why we started Vispa.
Mhm.
And very simply, we saw an opportunity to do something like we were very involved from a managed services perspective, working with healthcare providers. We also have worked on the technology side in, the 20 some years we've been in healthcare, and we just knew there had to be a better way. And when you
Mhm.
see that there is potential left on the table, when you see that organizations that maybe have very slim 2 to 3% margins, you're like, okay, there has to be a way. We use these iPhones every single day, and they are highly sophisticated under the surface, but to us, they're just easy to use. They're simple, they're not complex.
Right.
And when we set out to create Vispa, that's what we had in mind.
And how did you get the name?
So interesting. When I think about healthcare, one of the first things I think about is data, and I think about the flow of data. Vispa is a river in Switzerland, and we have Swiss roots. And so when we began thinking about putting together a software solution that would help simplify the process of following up on insurance claims, we thought about that flow of data, and we thought about the rivers and how there are many rivers that often come together at some point and that flow out into a bigger body of water. And so that's where the name Vispa comes
It's
from.
great. It's a great name. Education. Did you, in regards to where you're sitting now, your
Mhm.
education path, did you ever think, oh, I'm going to be an RCM? That's what I'm going to do.
No, in fact,
No.
I never would have thought when I was 20 years old that I would ever be in healthcare.
Okay.
But I've always been an entrepreneur at heart. So I kind of say it tongue in cheek, but I feel like I've been selling or doing some kind of entrepreneurial endeavor since I've been 5 years old.
Mhm.
I was a stay-at-home mom for quite a few years, so I don't have a traditional education path. I was a stay-at-home mom, but I always had a side hustle going.
Mhm.
At some point, I was a master chocolatier. I became a master chocolatier, had my own chocolate company, um, and then I did several other businesses along the way. And then I also have become a certified speaker, trainer, and coach. And that was before Vispa. And I had kind of thought I've always had a love for people and business. And I thought, well, I'm going to follow that path. And then the opportunity for Vispa came up, and of course that fits right into just the people focus that we have. Even though we're a technology company,
Mhm.
our focus really is on the people side.
Finding solutions for those folks.
Right. That's right. That's
Exactly.
exactly right. And realizing that it takes people, still takes people to automate. It still takes people to implement.
Mhm.
You can have the best technology in the world, which I, of course, am biased. I think we have the best. And but it still takes the people at organizations that we go into to actually help make it viable. It still takes, a focus on that. And so that's something that is really important to us at Vispa. And it's also one of the reasons why we started Vispa, is just seeing kind of the lack of support around a lot of solutions.
Mhm.
And so we're pretty collaborative. We work closely with our partners, and we're not a show up, implement, and leave and let you high and dry, because the results of our clients are really important to us, and we will do anything to help them.
And that's the reason I think we've all just said we're business partners now. We're no longer vendors in
Yes,
regards to we're not leaving.
that's
Our
right.
our
That's right.
technology will be updated. You're going to
Yes.
have a different need, and we're going to be developing for you 24/7. So
Yes, yes, that's exactly right. And I think what you just said about that ongoing development, that it also ties back to what I said at the very beginning about potential. I'm very passionate about seeing technology that is continuously evolving.
right.
And I see a lot of technology in our space that it's the same thing that we've been doing for 30 years. And
Yes,
that's not modern technology. That is, if we were in our everyday lives still using stuff from 30 years ago, we'd all be walking around with a bag phone or a BlackBerry. And we're not. And
right,
so I question, what are we doing in healthcare right now that is current? What are other industries doing? Let's look to
right.
see what they're doing and bring that into our industry.
I wholeheartedly believe that.
Yes.
In regards to 2024 with the hub, what are other industries doing? We're not developing anything new that other industries aren't doing. I mean, you look at the Angie's List and the TripAdvisors and all of this, every
Yes.
other industry has all of these references in these communities. So it's 2024. Let's do this. Let's be a part of
Yes.
the conversation and the solution. So,
Yes, I
yeah,
agree wholeheartedly. Absolutely.
absolutely.
And it
What
takes
about
a lot of,
mentors?
oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, no, it
Oh,
takes,
no.
I apologize.
Oh, no. I was just gonna talk about curiosity and
Hmm.
how that plays into that ongoing development and being curious as to what other people are doing and is there a better way? And I think on the people side, if we can invest more time into our people to help develop some of that,
I agree.
I think that would go a very long way in pushing automation and in innovation in our industry.
I agree with that completely. Question I was going to ask are about mentors, and it leads, your segment is perfect because when you said that, I thought of our interns, and I know a lot of our companies have interns. We're seeing a lot of hospitals actually do internships, and some really great things are happening in regards to that education segment. So, mentors, were there a lot of mentors in your path? And if so, just a story or two in regards how they helped you change. Maybe not always change direction, but how they helped you along and have helped you along in your journey.
Yes. I mean, so many mentors. And
Good,
I'm
good. I
I'm a
love
big
that.
yes, I'm a big believer that you need mentors in different areas of your life and not necessarily just one mentor for your entire life because everybody brings most of the time more highly specialized knowledge from their kind of area of expertise. And
Hmm.
so I've been fortunate to have that kind of all along the way. When I was 20 years old, I worked at a financial services company that had huge impacts on me. Um, the way they ran their company and the business model that they were highly successful, but I felt like the work I did mattered. And
Oh, yeah.
they gave me projects, they gave me challenges that they weren't giving anyone else. And I had it was stuff I had never done. So I had to figure it out. I had to problem solve, but they believed in me.
Hmm.
And they gave me the tools that I needed to become better. And that belief in me really propelled me. And I feel like all along the way, I've had those people, and it's interesting. I met a mentor of mine that he became a mentor of mine in like the mid like 2015 on. And I remember the first time I heard him speak, I'm like, one day he will be my coach and I will work with him. And
Oh, I love
sure
that.
enough, a couple of years later, he had built and sold a couple of really large companies. He's an entrepreneur, but he was in different areas of different industries. But business is business. It doesn't matter what industry
Hmm.
you're in. And you can always learn something from anyone that you have a conversation with. And so he really helped me to develop the belief in who I really am as a person, my core kind of identity, and helped me
Hmm.
see more of my potential. And it propels me to now do that for many other people.
Hmm.
Um, I say healthcare in particular, when it comes to mentors in healthcare, I honestly have been so blessed to just be around people that I really respect And
Mhm.
I've listened to countless conversations. And in my mind, that's one of the best ways to learn anything is just to listen.
Mhm.
Listen and observe and then do. And so I've been pretty fortunate to have many of those on the healthcare side as well.
But yeah, we do. How blessed are we though? We get to go to panels and with our providers and business partners are like, when we're not taped, when we're not recorded, that we can talk about real life circumstances. We can talk about true case studies. We can talk about, best practices. And so our community is very giving in that fact to share knowledge and to share information. So
Yes,
yeah, so we're
absolutely.
we're very your education. I think we touched on it a little bit, and your mentors. Now, who gave you your break when you talk about Vispa? Do you feel like you got a break? Do you feel like there was a provider? Do you feel like there was an institution, a system? Where did the break come from?
Yes, there definitely were a couple of things that come to mind when I think about the break.
Hmm.
And I would say first and foremost, we had when we started our company, we took kind of a trifecta approach. So we had a development team in Cincinnati that we got connected with through a mutual friend. Had never met them before. So we had them. We had a healthcare consulting company that also saw a need, didn't want to build it, but wanted to have something
Right.
that they could sell and take to their clients. And then we had a healthcare provider that really spoke into the process. So we had those people that really just said, we want to be part of what you are building. That, in my mind, is the big first thing. The
I
second
agree.
thing is we had a CFO at Memorial Health System, Scott Silvestri, smaller health system in Ohio, Marietta, Ohio, and he knew our co-founder Lamar, and he's like, I see what you guys are doing. I see the methodology. I believe in it. I am all for innovation. I want you in our health system. And so they were
Wow.
our first client. And
Wow.
and then the second client was similar. Those two health systems really helped to shape who we were. They believed
Hmm.
in us. And I'll say we implemented them at the beginning of COVID.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
not many, that was our launch spring
Hmm. Hmm.
was spring of 2020. And here we are almost 5 years later from 5 years later from when we started building our
Sure.
solution, and we've made it. We've made it. And to say we launched during COVID, uh, there's we needed a break. Honestly,
Absolutely.
we needed a break.
Absolutely.
But then I will say too, on the HFMA front, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to building anything, it's all relationships. It is
Hmm.
just all relationships. And the introductions we had early on from a couple of individuals that were highly influential at HFMA, I thank these people regularly because
I love that.
they made a way for us when we could have just been a really tiny fish in a huge pond. And they highlighted us to people and they gave us a chance. And it's interesting because since then, we've consistently showed up over the years since that time, since those
Hmm.
introductions. And just recently, they told us again, they said, we were just waiting. The first year, we were kind of waiting to see if you would actually stick and if you
Right.
actually were who you said that you were. And we've seen that you are. And those folks now continue to make introductions for us. But when it
I
comes to
love that.
breaks, in my mind, they gave us a big break.
Yeah. And it takes
Because
one. It
yeah,
really
and we
takes
and
one.
I mean we were told by plenty of people we're never going to do it. We were told, you're never going to break in. Healthcare is way too hard to break into. You're never gonna make it.
Right.
Like, who do you think you are? What are you doing? And I'm like, watch us.
Just watch us. Exactly. Just watch us. Yeah. It's when we see the RFPs, kind of a highlight right now that's happening at the hub, and we see that, companies have to be in business 3, 5, 7 years. I think to myself, come on, some of the new technology is just a couple years old in
Right.
regards to companies doing really great things and accelerating their growth. some of them haven't been with us for 20 years. So when we see these big organizations kind of limit those, and I understand why they do it. I completely understand. I don't want to spend all this time and money and then the next day, that company's no longer there. I get it. But sometimes this new technology and some of the new thinkers and the bright groups, I'm like, oh, just listen to them.
Yeah.
Just see their demo and see what they're
Yeah.
doing. So kind of that new kid on the block. Um,
Right.
so where do you see revenue cycle management? And I used to be this, 2, 5, 10 years. Where do you see us going? And I think with technology, I don't think we can be amiss in regards to knowing it's changing everything that we do every day. And one of my developers was just doing something, and she's like, I can't figure this out. Let me just write code in chat. I mean, so 6 months ago, we wouldn't have done that. So
Right.
we look forward, what do you think you see? What do you predict? What would you like to see happen in healthcare revenue cycle?
When I think of healthcare revenue cycle management in the next 5 to 10 years, I
Hmm.
think about obviously automation. But I think of it when I think about manufacturing, I think a lot of the revenue cycle process is much like a manufacturing plant. And I think about how in a manufacturing plant, there is automation very strategically
Hmm.
placed to do very specific jobs. And if you think about it, the process is very streamlined, but it's never without people.
Right.
So
I
I
agree.
would like to see the expertise of people and the brain power of people go up a notch and let go of the mundane tasks, let go of the things that technology and automation can help,
Hmm.
can take care of. And you focus on the brain power needed, the strategy, the more high level important things that automation cannot do. Um, I recently heard a quote from the Finnish people in their school system. They have something where they have a thing that they use where it's like, we can't afford to waste a brain. In revenue cycle, we
I
can't
love
afford to
that.
waste a brain. We can't afford moving forward to waste a brain. We will always need people, but people need to be developed. We need to develop as individuals. If I'm doing the same thing I was doing 20 years ago, there's a good chance maybe there's not been a lot of development that has happened. And
Right.
that's where I see the potential of people. There's so much potential there,
Hmm.
but potential to do more, to do something differently. And revenue cycle management, we need all the automation that we can get in there, technology that we can get in there, whether that's AI, machine learning models. Bots have been around for forever, so that's kind of a misnomer. It is what it is. But when it comes to new technologies and artificial intelligence and machine learning models, there is so much potential there, to strategically put them all throughout the revenue cycle, but then have people strategically placed. Right now, I believe we see through the lens of, we have all these people. How can we squeeze technology in? I think we need to flip the model around and say, let's look at it from a blank slate and put technology where we need it. And now let's look at our teams and let's elevate them
Right.
to do more strategic things, things that require brain power.
Agreed. Agreed. And those people are going to see patients come in, and there's probably going to be a recommendation or two that the institution, your system needs to implement. That's a really good idea versus having heads down doing this,
Yes,
So
that's right.
agreed. 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 Anything I didn't ask you, anything I didn't touch upon, kind of those last thoughts in regards to being in that chair in RCM at our time right
Yeah.
now in
Well,
2024?
yeah, that's a loaded question.
It is a loaded
Um,
question. It's a
I,
tough
I
one.
will I will just say it takes a lot of grit to do what we do. It
I
takes a
agree.
lot of curiosity, and it takes strong leadership. And when I think about the seat that I sit in and the responsibility I feel tremendously responsible, not only for my own team, but for all our clients. I feel
Mhm.
responsible for our industry. I am a big believer that I want to leave the world a better place than I found it. And when I think about doing the same thing I did 20 years ago, it doesn't seem like I'm leaving the world a better place.
I
And so
agree.
my kind of outgoing thing that I want to put out to people is, what are we doing to leave the world a better place for the next generation? What about our sons and our daughters that somebody somewhere needs to fill in the gap for all the healthcare workers, whether that is on the clinical side or the RCM side? Are young people wanting to get into those fields?
Right.
Right? I highly doubt they want to get into those fields, into either of those, if it's outdated technology. I mean, all they know is technology.
Right.
All they know, that's how they live, that's how they do everything. And I've seen the looks of shock when people go into a healthcare system or just are, reviewing technologies, which we do pretty regularly here at Vispa. I see the young people on our team and the look of shock on their face when they see some of the stuff that is out there that people are using that they think is wonderful. And I think
Yeah.
it's a thing to consider, and a challenge to take on, to be curious and to ask the question of, is there a better way?
Right. Right. And it's affordable now. It is
It
affordable now.
is. It
Yes.
is. It is.
Yeah.
We're not paying bag phone prices for these phones. So
Exactly. Exactly. All right, let's go to the Olympics really quick.
yes.
Which I don't want to say Olympian. You can say your favorite Olympian. Which sport? Who will you be? Obviously, the U.S., but who will you be? What teams? Who are your teams in regards to the Olympics?
Honestly, I have not put hardly any focus in on the Olympics this year.
Okay, fair
I
enough.
kind of am a fan of Winter Olympics more than
Okay,
some, to be quite
fair enough.
honest.
Fair enough.
But one thing that I think about when I think about Olympians is their dedication. They are so focused in on exactly what they are like. They are so zeroed and focused in on one thing. And they are either running to win, they are swimming to win, they are like cutting off seconds every time they are doing what they do. And if we all had that kind of focus, it would be remarkable what we could accomplish. And it
Agreed.
inspires me. It inspires me every time I watch them compete, because it doesn't matter who it is. Um, I just know the hours and hours and days and days and days they have put into doing what they are doing.
Agreed.
And every small little bit of progress makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And they work very hard to do what they do. And there's a lot of not just physical, but it's a lot of
Oh,
mental stuff that goes into it. And
agreed. Agreed.
I think we can learn a lot from them.
And I think there's a really cool parallel with our entrepreneurs and our athletes. I really think there are a lot of attributes that you all share. So, very much so.
I
Well, it's
appreciate
been lovely as always. I